Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Pravijaya Acharya Astoru Shishamatas Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Pravijaya Acharya Astoru Shishamatas Divine Grace Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Ananti Koti Vaishnav Vrind Ki Naam Acharya Sila Haridas Thakur Ki Prem se kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrind Ki Sisi Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyam Kun Radha Kun Giri Govardhan Ki Vrindavan Navadip Dham Ki Gangamai Jamunamai Ki Bhakti Devi Tulasi Devi Ki Samaveta Bhakta Vrind Ki Itai Gaur Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada Ki. Hare Krishna. So we're continuing our reading from the book called I'll Build You a Temple, the Juhu Story. And we've got a lot of pages to cover, but I will paraphrase and we could, yeah. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna. So last week we were speaking about the facing the challenges, how Giriraj Swami and the other devotees who were assisting were facing so many challenges from the government. And there was one Mr. Matre, he was somehow, he felt defeated. And generally, dishonor is worse than death. And when people feel defeated, then they can do all sorts of things to bring you down. That also applies to devotees. It's not it applies to even materialists and devotees. But that's not what a quality a devotee should have. Where Mr. Matre had a deep grudge, and he was not the most prominent person in the challenge, but somehow he bore a deep grudge and he wanted to get revenge. So that's on page 317, and then now we come to there were new allies, there were new challenges. And Gopal Krishna Maharaj was roped in because he was expert in political and diplomatic dealings. And Giriraj Maharaj writes that he was impressed the way Gopal Krishna Maharaj dealt with the politicians, because he was Indian-bodied, and I guess you needed an Indian-bodied person to deal with these type of matters. And there was just so much challenges to get the no objection certificate. And whenever they went, it was given from one person to another. So and so will say, go see that person. That person will say, see that person. So there was that type of challenge. And even in devotional practice, we may also try to avoid or pass the buck in devotional practices. I'm just relating it to how we also meant to deal and do things. So that was being done. Then Giriraj Maharaj knew very important people in Bombay. Practically most of the important, probably the richest people. He knew lots of them. So then he would take Gopal Krishna Maharaj and visit them, and try to get their help. But then there was the chief minister, and a chief minister is a high position in India. But somehow the devotees couldn't meet him, because in government circles it's very difficult to get to the top man, because you have to go to so many people. So one day the Maharaj met a newspaper reporter who interviewed this person, this chief minister, and he had mentioned to him, I'll just read it. Matre was getting bad articles about us published in the newspaper, so that the reporter had asked the chief minister what he thought of the devotees. This is reporting in a journalist or reporters. They look for juicy stories and they kind of enhance the story or spice it up. But anyway, he asked. So the chief minister said, I think they are very good people. I don't believe anything bad things that were published about them in the press. And that is another thing, as we have to avoid, because if our dealings are not proper, and if we kind of don't follow the principles or don't do things in a proper way, when something goes to the press, it's in now you got social media, Facebook, people writing all kinds of stuff. It tarnishes the image of the institution. So we should also be careful about that. And this person somehow felt, this Mr. Chavan, that we were good people. Then they were trying to meet the Mr. Chavan. And when you go to an important person's office, especially in India, and if you don't have an appointment, they can make you wait for hours. That's one thing. And if you enter in without an appointment, then they will call immediately, the leader or the head calls the security and removes you. That's how it's done in India. So, but this time, when they went, there was nobody there. The security personnel wasn't there. Then what they did, they opened the door and they just walked in. And this is another thing, for sadhus are meant to be respected, and Indian leaders should know that. Anyway, Mr. Chavan, he immediately got up to honor the holy men. And that also is applicable for us. The converse is also true. While they may also honor us, we should also honor them. And you may think, well, why should I honor a politician? Well, why? Why should I do that? Because remember that the person is put in that position, it's sanctioned by Krishna. Because all opulences, everything comes from Krishna. So if the person is put in that position, that also applies to us. So he received them. And when soon as they explained the situation, immediately this Mr. Chavan, he was willing to help. He said, don't worry, I'll solve the problem, don't worry. So then, in the Indian system, there are different tiers of management, this person, that person, the Home Secretary, the Chief Minister, the Police Commissioner is below, the Chief of the Home Secretary. So this Mr. Matre, he was having meetings with his Home Secretary, and he was telling them false stories. And because the Home Secretary, the police commissioner was under the Home Secretary, he was believing what the Home Secretary was saying. And therefore they were keep refusing a no objection certificate to start the project. So then Chavan, who was impartial, could see all this. The devotees were being harassed. So he called for the urban affairs minister who oversaw the municipality and addressed them in Hindi. And this is what he asked. Who is actually at fault? He asked. Are they guilty ones? Chavan asked, or are you? Meaning the Home Secretary and the Police Commissioner. Who are at fault? So they he figured out that Mr. Matre was close to these people and was brainwashing him against ISKCON. So then he took action, and being the most powerful person, he put his foot down. And then he said, the Chavan put his foot down and stopped the whole thing, and the urban affairs minister and the Home Secretary issued instruction that the permission for the guest house should be reinstated and that no objection for the temple should be granted. So this is, this person played a very significant role. Therefore, in a way that he was engaged in a very important service to Krishna, important devotional service. And we should also look at like that. When politician comes, then we should try to engage them in devotional service in different ways. Even they come to us in different ways, but we should be cautious also. So now the attitude of the government officers throughout the entire city changed overnight. And then the word quickly spread that these people have like strong contacts now. And I'll just read. But when they heard that we had the chief minister's support, people became friendly, cordial, and cooperative. And wherever we went, without difficulty, we got what was due. Now, it's interesting that sometimes we must go through so much of difficulty, and you will wonder why we're building a temple, that we're going through so many challenges. But even if you see Krishna's appearance, it's not an easy appearance. There were so many challenges. He was, Kamsa wanted to kill Krishna. So there's so many challenges. But that brings about the glory of Krishna. It makes it more exciting. It's like a diamond in a white glass doesn't look so nice. But a diamond on a blue glass looks very attractive. So sometimes in the scripture it is mentioned that how the pastimes in the material world with Krishna is sometimes more attractive than the pastimes in the spiritual world. Now these devotees were experiencing these difficulties, but it made them very glorious. And then on June 13, the legal department of the municipality informed us that the earlier notice dated 17 May had been withdrawn and that we could proceed with the construction as the plans already approved. Now, then Prabhupada was in the United States at that time, and the devotees spoke to him the next day. And Prabhupada was excited that we got the no objection certificate to continue the building. And there's a conversation that you could read in the folio if you have. And Prabhupada was now making plans of how the money will come. Now that's another thing, that's an important lesson for all of us to learn. Now these, the devotees didn't have the money, they were in a foreign land and so much of challenges. This is what Prabhupada said. So you begin the work and money will come by the grace of God. Not through business, but by the grace of God. So we may think, we may have so many plans to make money for the temple. Don't do that, because it's a waste of time. Because when one glorifies Krishna very sincerely and seriously, that will come. Because we make every endeavor, and sometimes people, in our movement, even devotees may have some material abilities to do collection, but it may not be spiritual. They may have those material abilities, and then they become famous due to their material abilities. But that is also not required. What is required is we surrender to Krishna. And Prabhupada, in another book, Giriraj Maharaj explains how he was unhappy. One day, Prabhupada was unhappy that the arti is going on, but he couldn't hear any kirtan. And he said his success to defeat this person in all these challenges came from glorification of Krishna. And the devotees speculated, where could the devotees have gone? But they had gone for some important person's home where somebody had passed away. But Prabhupada's business was for glorification of Krishna. So don't worry, just finish the building as soon as possible. Somehow the other money will come. In Bombay, you collect as much as you can, and the balance of the money will be sent, rest assured. But then he made a very important point. And this is what we should learn as devotees. Not a single farthing should be wasted. We shouldn't waste anything. In terms of money and how money is managed, Prabhupada taught, money is gets into the bank, it must be banked, and then we use it for Krishna. But you can't take that money and keep it for yourself. As soon as you do that, you'll have problem. All money is given to Krishna. Not a single farthing should be wasted. I will see the accounts personally when I return to Bombay. So he was looking at everything personally. So when Giriraj Maharaj heard this, that Prabhupada is going to come to Bombay, it was like music for his ears. That's how he describes it. And when Prabhupada came, he swung direct into action. And he was writing, and then he gave the way it should be done. That books will be printed, and they will be sold, and those monies will be used for the building. So this business is different because we're giving knowledge about Krishna. So generally, because when one enters business, slowly it looks like it's going like that straight, but then it takes a small turn like that and it goes that way. That's what happens. Okay, so then, like that, Prabhupada spoke about printing the books. Then what happened was, more challenges came because the Prime Minister of India, at that time, was Indira Gandhi, and India's president was Fakhruddin Ali Ahmad. So he declared a national state of security. And when he did that, then the whole authority came under the Prime Minister, and then the Prime Minister, and then they imprisoned all these people who were opponents. The political opponents were imprisoned, and the press was censored. Well, in effect, that she became a dictator. So now Indira Gandhi was in power. So Prabhupada was in a press conference. I mean, anyway, he was in Dallas, and then the newspaper reporters asked him to comment on the situation. What do you think about Mrs. Gandhi? And Prabhupada, being a sadhu, avoided speaking against her. He didn't really speak against her. But he made one good point, and I'll just read that point. He says, but our proposition is that anything, whether political, social, or economical, or philosophical, without Krishna is all zero. So without Krishna, it's zero. Then he says, so far as Mrs. Gandhi is concerned, she's inclined to spiritual understanding. And if she does become, advanced spiritually, then the emergency situation will improve. And then Prabhupada made a nice statement. He said that dictatorship was not bad, but if the dictator or monarch was godly, of high moral character and spiritual qualification. So, but nowadays, that won't work in the current climate of now, dictatorship. Then he goes on to explain, he's talking about the architect, he's making the submissions. And then they had to meet there were tenants on the property. And then how Mr. Premnath was the architect, met the municipal officials. And there were a few challenges, but we won't go into it's a lengthy thing. And then then Giriraj Maharaj reflects. He says, I also reflected in my letter on our success in obtaining the no objection certificate for the temple from the police. You must be pleased that we received the no objection certificate from the police to construct our temple. It was a great fight. Even up to the last moment, Mr. Matre was trying everything to stop us, but by Krishna's grace he could not succeed. And then he goes on to speak about the last verse in the Bhagavad Gita, Yatra Yogeshwara Krishna, Yatra Partha Dhanurdhara Tatra Sriya Vijaya Bhuti Dhruva Nitir Matir Mama. So, because everybody was appreciating, how they were able to overcome this powerful opposition. Because wherever there is Krishna and Arjuna, there is certainly victory and opulence. But then, so while Prabhupada was in America, he received a telegram from Tejas saying that if he wanted an interview with Indira Gandhi, he would have to come immediately. And this is really, surprising that Prabhupada cut his trip short from the North American tour, and within few days he was back in India, back to Bombay, to meet Indira Gandhi. Then whilst Prabhupada was on a morning walk, whenever he came to Bombay, in the morning he will go for a walk on Juhu Beach. He was deeply reflecting his difficulties, his challenges, the obstacle. And then he was saying, then he spoke about Kunti Devi. How Kunti Devi was praying, that more difficulties should come, because then we can remember Krishna more. And he was talking about that. And then he looked and he saw the Arabian Sea. Then he remembered his voyage to America. What a ferocious ocean, it was so difficult, the challenges he experienced on his trip. So he was deeply reflecting. A pure devotee doesn't mean he reflects on his situation, but he sees Krishna in everything. That's the difference. In every aspect he's seeing how Krishna is there with him. He's never alone. So then, shortly thereafter, there was a person called Lalita Bose. Lalita Bose was the daughter of Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose's brother, because Subhash Chandra Bose was an important person to get freedom for India. He was the main person, Subhash Chandra Bose. And his brother's daughter was named Lalita Bose. Raghunath ki jai. So Lalita Bose was the daughter, or was the niece of Subhash Chandra Bose, and they were highly connected. And Giriraj Maharaj knew her from Calcutta, where she used to visit the temple. So she met Prabhupada, and they spoke mostly in Bengali. And Prabhupada was telling him about his mission and asking for her help to approach Indira Gandhi for a specific purpose. And then he says, and there's an interesting discussion. You can go in. It's okay, you can go forward. We should be supported. He said, if she understands, India will develop, I'm sure. This is not bogus. This is exactly what Krishna has said. Our mission is Yare Dek Tareka Krishna Upadesh. Bas, if you speak what Krishna has instructed, you become guru. But if you make your own concoction, your own invention, then I do not speak any nonsense. Only the instruction given in Bhagavad Gita, that is my credit. So Prabhupada was just repeating the message of the Gita. And please take this, please be cognizant of what is being said here. He says that who is a guru? Somebody who just gives the message that he has got from the Bhagavad Gita. Because sometimes we have this misunderstanding in ISKCON. Or we may have this misunderstanding amongst our devotees. We have to be careful about that also. Is that anybody who is giving you knowledge about Krishna is considered a guru. But our understanding is guru means the person who initiates. That's an initiating guru. That's the difference. The difference is that person connects you with the parampara. It's an initiating guru. And there may be other versions to it. But that's authorized and we follow that. But remember that other people instructing you in the science of Krishna consciousness is also a guru. So that must be very clear in our minds, because that's not very clear to most of the people that I meet. So yeah, Prabhupada is very clear. That's why this is such an important book for devotees to read and have an understanding. Giriraj Maharaj has first-hand information with Prabhupada saying all these things. So, what you say, you act accordingly, Lalita added. What I learned from Krishna, I don't say independently, that is not my business. This is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's instruction. Amara Agya Guru Hana Tara Idesh. You deliver, and listen to this very carefully and see how what we're talking about is so relevant. You deliver your village people and become a guru. Got it? That's the first point. Everyone is not going to be so big that he can go all over the world. That's the second point. The third point, but everyone can teach within his limit, within his family, within his community, within his village, within his town, and within his district. So he localized the whole thing. Right, Ibrahim? As he is capable, he can increase. But everyone can become guru and deliver the local people. How? Yara deke tare kaha Krishna upadesh. Then you are guru. As soon as you manufacture anything nonsense, then it's spoiled. So many gurus are there, they are manufacturing, they are becoming Krishna. That is nonsense. You cannot become Krishna. Because Krishna, and then he goes on to explain how Krishna is in your heart, and he quotes the Bhagavad Gita, the Brahma Samhita, Ishvara Sarva Bhutanam Hridayase Arjuna Tishtati. that I am seated in everyone's heart. The 18th chapter, text number 61 of the Bhagavad Gita. And in the Brahma Samhita he goes, Andantarasta paramanu chayantarastam, that he is in every atom. So he is quoting like that. But Krishna is in the heart. And he quotes, And he says, if people lead their lives on the basis of Bhagavad Gita, everything will be fine. So this Lalita Bose was a follower of Satya Sai Baba. Because before she met Prabhupada, she had been a leading follower. And then let me read this, because in Calcutta, before meeting Prabhupada, Lalita had been a leading follower of Satya Sai Baba, who had showed some magic and has been accepted by many people as God. But after being enlightened by Prabhupada, she challenged Sai Baba. She said, why are you misleading the people? By producing and giving them material things, you are involving them in more materialism. Bhaktisiddhanta Swami is performing the real miracle, making pure devotees of Krishna. And I heard this a long time ago. Lots of these things I heard before, which Giriraj Maharaj was talking about. And this is one of the things. And Maharaj also met Sai Baba in a wedding. Yeah. We got nothing against him, but this is what transpired. A follower of Sai Baba is saying this. So then Prabhupada was told Brahmananda to show Lalita Bose his books, and how the professors and leading men were acknowledging his books. And then she said, when I meet the Prime Minister, I will take this, she said, and give it to the Prime Minister also. And she was amazed at how, the deity worshippers in ISKCON, you are changing people. You are changing people, actually transforming them. I just saw your temple in Mayapur. Amazing. And the temple in Vrindavan, you can't even leave. Everyone is saying that the worship in the Hare Krishna Mandir is the best. They are saying that the deities look like they are about to speak. They look so alive. So these are descriptions given by people who just came in contact with Srila Prabhupada and were appreciating so much the service, the work that he has done on behalf of Krishna. So the deities could speak, and you can speak to them and they'll speak to you, but we may not be in the position to hear them now because of our conditioning, but we can speak to them even if we can't hear them. We can come in the presence of the deities, like these people are standing in the presence of the deities, these devotees, and they're looking at Krishna and they're praying to Krishna, and Krishna will speak to them. They may not get the answer immediately, but as time goes, it will manifest. So then she speaks about the artist ceremony, how impressed, because in India they have like few altars, and when the altars all open simultaneously and the conch is blown simultaneously, and that the sound is so beautiful and it is done so nicely. And then Prabhupada says that right through all the temples, the same standard. And then she was talking about, Lalita Bose brings about village development and how Indira Gandhi is very much inclined to village development. And Prabhupada said, we have the devotees, but we don't have the facility. And then Prabhupada was coming to the point he was getting all the money from the outside, but they needed visas. And then Prabhupada speaks, he mentions the Bhagavad Gita, how these Westerners have taken to Bhagavad Gita and taken it seriously. But in India, they throw it out. It's not a good thing. And it's spoken in India, in the Bhagavad Gita. And Prabhupada was explaining how we are trying to unite the whole of the world. He was trying to unite everybody on the basis of Krishna consciousness. And he was talking about the United Nations. And what good are they doing? It's just all flags of Hindu, of different parts of the world, India, Pakistan, or whatever, different parts of the world. And he goes on to explain, this is not unity. And he quotes specifically the verse from the Bhagavad Gita, which is chapter 18, text 54, Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma, Na Sochiti Na Kangsati. So he was saying, quoting this verse, because we can really not have equal vision. When one is envious or there's competitive spirit, it's not, we cannot have unity. And then he goes on to explain more. He's talking about how the devotees are not into politics, because there was a discussion because they felt that the devotees were like CIA agents or maybe spies or whatever, but how the devotees are not into politics. And Prabhupada was confirming that these people are really sincere people. And Prabhupada was interviewed at other times about Indira Gandhi, and he still mentioned that she was a spiritually inclined person. She was spiritually inclined. Then the topic comes up on democracy. Now democracy, according to Prabhupada, is not so much beneficial if his leaders have no spiritual values. Because if you look at Mahatma Gandhi, he was a dictator. But he was a man of good character, high moral standard. So dictatorship can be good, provided that the dictator is spiritually developed. Yeah. And then Prabhupada was saying that, this Subhash Chandra Bose's niece, Lalita Bose, he said, if intelligent girls like you help us, then I will stay in India. So then, okay, I'll just read here. Why tourist visa? Because Prabhupada wanted a permanent visa, and he got a permanent visa from America when he could, because he was a monk. So temporary visas he really didn't want for the devotees. He wanted a permanent visa. So then he quoted a Bengali saying, for India's improvement I am ready to do anything, he quoted. And this is the Bengali saying, from stitching shoes to reading the Chandi, I am ready to do anything. So he could, do the most menial thing. Yeah. Then she may ask about foreign exchange for the development of India, because this is Lalita Bose is posing these questions, and Prabhupada is now answering. But I'm bringing everything. I'm bringing all this money, foreign exchange from other countries, and everything that I have here is all come from abroad. And then he says, you have done such an amazing work. We people in India cannot be like them. We will need some time. Not time, the way they are listening seriously. The reason I came here running in that this science is meant for the executive head of the state. In this verse from the Bhagavad Gita, on the 4th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Imam Visvita Yogam, Prokta Vahanam Avyayam, Vivasvan Manava Praha Manurikshvaku Abravit. I instructed this imperishable science of yoga, Krishna says, to the sun god. And then he came to rishis and kings. So it's coming in a chain. So I'll read. Evam parampara praptam imam raja se vidu. It is meant for the Raja Rishis. Indira is in the position of a Raja. If she becomes a Rishi, then she will be successful. So if you can become a king, and if you're not saintly, then it'll be just a mess. This is what I will tell her. I came running here just to tell her this, that you have got the position of royalty. You become a saintly lady. Then your scheme will be successful. That is required. That I can help how to make her a rishi. Then not only the people of India will be benefited, but the whole world will be benefited. So, when saintly people come into power, or they, in these positions, then they have an influence or an effect on the masses. And Prabhupada's idea was preaching to mass and preaching to class. There's two levels. Because sometimes we just concentrating on preaching to mass. But we must also be able to preach to classy people who will influence the masses. That has to be there. So if we influence Indira Gandhi, then Indira Gandhi will have an influence over the people. Like presently in India, there's the Chief Minister, Yogi Adityanath. Very powerful. But he's a yogi, he's a saint. He's a brahmachari. And he's holding a very high post. And practically the people are just surrendering to him. By the millions. Because he's a sadhu. And Narendra Modi also is a sadhu. And has such powerful effect on people. So a saint is required. And then it says, that is not my business, concoction, hodgepodge, without any knowledge, without any experience. We are not that type. We will account for every single penny. They will do it very nicely. They're expert in doing it. And the money they will give us, we will give accounts for every single penny. Because Prabhupada was talking about governmental help in executing this village development. And here again, Prabhupada is talking about how we should deal with funds and monies, and how it comes from the government, and what we should do, and it comes from anybody, how we utilize it in the service of Krishna. Then in page 329, we're looking at, I've got a few minutes more. Does anybody want to make any comments or questions they have? They'd like to raise before I continue? Well, we got 10 minutes more. Lalita suggested, you will tell her everything, and after you meet someone else will come to meet her, and she will forget about what you said. But if it is in writing, then on that basis ISKCON's work will be done. So now what shall I write? Prabhupada asked, and after the discussion with Lalita and the devotees present, he dictated the following draft, which he asked Brahmananda to read out. And here it is. And you'll see those important points on this. Because, you can tell her, because these politicians are so busy, they have so many things on their mind, they will forget. Your Excellency, Srimati Indira Devi Gandhi, when I was in Toronto, Canada, Srimati Lalita Devi, who is just like my daughter, sent me one intimation that she approached you for a meeting with me and you. and I have come here postponing all my engagements. I am preaching this Krishna consciousness movement all over the world on the basis of Krishna's instruction in Bhagavad Gita. Actually, this Krishna consciousness movement is called the Sankirtan movement, and sometimes the Hare Krishna movement, which was inaugurated by Lord Chaitanya in Bengal and throughout all India. His mission is that everyone should become a guru and preach all over the world the instruction of Krishna. So we are doing this very faithfully, and it is becoming effective. I think in India also, if some vigorous activity is done for awakening the Krishna consciousness of the people under your leadership, it will be very effective. We have already 8 branches in India, and all development is being done by foreign exchange. It can be continued if I get encouragement by the government. I have written about 50 books of 400 pages each, such as Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, Chaitanya Charitamrita and Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. And these books are very popular in the foreign countries such as Europe and America. By the sales proceed, I am bringing foreign exchange. Yours sincerely. Yours sincerely is all right, or your well-wisher, Prabhupada asked. And Prabhupada, all his letters, he had these 3 words, your well-wisher. Your ever well-wisher, or your well-wisher. Whenever he wrote to people, because he was a sadhu, and a sadhu is always wishing them well. And this letter is written to Brahmananda. He's asking Brahmananda to read out, but Brahmananda's brother was Gagamuni. And Gagamuni is still alive, and Brahmananda has left this world. And Gagamuni, I was there in a year, I think it's probably 2002, the 25th anniversary of Srila Prabhupada in Vrindavan. And Gagamuni was saying that how Prabhupada, they had lots of challenges themselves later, but he said how Prabhupada, whenever he read, his letters, your ever well-wisher, or your well-wisher, and then he broke down into tears, it was emotional. Because he was really their well-wisher. Really their well-wisher. So he's asking Lalita Bose, should I address your sincerely or your well-wisher? And Lalita said, your well-wisher. The word is already there. Sadhu Sastra Guru Vakya Chitakari Akya. So immediately type it and give it to her. Where it says that I am bringing foreign exchange, the end, by selling my books, I am bringing foreign exchange, it is for India's development. Jai Pataka asked. For developing my scheme here, Prabhupada replied. And Gopal Krishna mentioned the point that we are bringing foreign exchange, whether there should be any word that also signifies that we have local support also. Our books are popular in foreign countries as well as in India. We are getting money from all these books. We have quotations from professors in America and India, Brahmananda said. Yes, you will be present. You will present one Gita, Lalita advised, and I write, lead your life according to these teachings. She is full of bhakti, but she needs good guidance. So, even though Prabhupada could see that little spark in a politician, and he wanted to fan that spark. He was not just concerned meeting them. He would meet them, as I explained last week, and he will preach to them the scriptures. This is what we meant to follow. This is what we meant to do. Even in Mauritius is a very, it's an island with a lot of Indian people, and Prabhupada went there also and preached. And he somehow felt that state would become Krishna conscious, the whole state. But he had this, he had it in his mind that this place would become, and he was trying to preach. to the people. And he was meant to meet the Indian Prime Minister there. I mean the Prime Minister of Mauritius. But somehow the Prime Minister had some other engagements, and the other engagement was sad that when he learnt about it, they was going to open where they were slaughtering chickens. So Prabhupada was not happy, and they had an accident also. Prabhupada had an accident at that time. So he was really, not really into just, he wanted to meet the leaders, but he wanted to tell them the philosophy. Because sometimes, even with us devotees, we may meet somebody who's very popular and well off, and we will be scared to tell them, what we are about. I guess we have to, see the circumstances, the situation, but we should never be afraid to tell them what we follow. Never. Because even myself, I met so many people, in political circles or governmental circle, and I was very honest in what we do. We don't eat meat, we don't gamble, we don't take intoxication, we don't engage in illicit sex. So it has an effect on them also. They're not going to take it so seriously, and we'll be scared to tell them things that will push them away. But you also have to be truthful. Sometimes you have to say it in such a way that they will take it. But don't be afraid to tell the truth. Because by not telling the truth, the person goes away not knowing anything. But if you tell the truth, he'll be affected by the truth. And even if he gets angry, he'll be affected by the truth. That's important. So Prabhupada was like that. He would tell the truth. I shall personally teach Bhagavad Gita to her and her most confidential associates who is governing. So he was thinking how he could influence her, how he could teach them the Bhagavad Gita so it will have an effect on their consciousness of the leaders, and then the leaders influence the masses. So let's read this paragraph and then we'll stop because it will be 8:30. That I can do if she agrees. Imam Raja se vidu. I want a Raja Rishi to take up this movement seriously, but I could not get one till now. If she becomes, it will be of benefit for me, for the world, for her, everyone. Because I have no power, I have no money. But if one Raja Rishi who's got strength, money, intelligence, if she takes it, then it will be very quickly successful. Just like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. His movement became very successful when Maharaj Prataparudra of Orissa took it. Gautama, Buddha's movement was successful when Maharaj Ashok took it. It requires. And Krishna says, Raja se vidu. Later Prabhupada finalized his letter, including a list of points to be addressed with the Prime Minister. So we can continue next week with this. Does anybody have any comments or questions on this? Yes. Can you give him the mic, Sahi Prabhu? Later. Yeah.
And then later when Prabhupada left, there was a letter he never received. Prabhupada told them, you must come and stay in Vrindavan. And that's when they came back to Vrindavan. They had some problems.
Yeah, I know the history.
Yeah. And then they found that letter where Prabhupada said, you must come and stay in Vrindavan. So they went. And when he stayed in Vrindavan, he looked after Brahmananda Prabhu. So that book is also out, but we're waiting for it to come.
Very good, yeah. That's nice. That's a nice point. And he looked after his brother. They lived down there at down the Parikram Marg. what was that building? I forget that building. Anyway, yeah, they had apartments there, and they lived there. And then when Brahmananda was meant to come and give a tour, because it was very huge and it was very difficult for him to travel, they would send a vehicle to bring him up to the temple, and it took him a while before he could sit down. He was like that big. And very great devotee, he did a lot for the movement. Yeah, thank you for that. But try to follow try to read a little. And I was happy, again I was put on the spot to speak on, on this book, but I was really appreciated at the same time. It is so beautiful. Thank you. Anybody else? So we'll stop here otherwise. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. They're leaving, yeah? Best to you all, huh? Oh, okay.
I was telling him about this book, so I told him that I don't have a chance. Will you drop off when you get a chance?
Yeah, I can do that.
Dr. Pillai.
Where's he?